their intimate insight into some of the extreme groups causing so much chaos in this country right now. Frank Mink, a former skinhead leader and neo-Nazi recruiter, and Scott Crow, anarchist, former Antifa organizer and author of Setting Sights, Histories and Reflections on Community Armed Self-Defense. Scott, I'll go to you first, because I think a lot of people don't really understand what this group stands for, Antifa. What is their intention? What is their goal?
Well, Antifa is a set of ideas. It's not a group. That's a misnomer that the media keeps putting on it. It's a network of people with similar ideas. Anybody who wants to stand up to white supremacy, or anybody who wants to stand up to racism, or stop communities of color or immigrants or women from being attacked by white supremacists is Antifa. It could be your mother. It could be your brother or sister down the street. It could be the grocery store clerk. It's not always anarchist. But what it is that Antifa is willing to say, no, no pasaran. You cannot do this. You cannot. It's not, hate speech is not free speech. Hate speech is what gets people killed, as we see over and over with people like Dylan Roof, who walked into a church and murdered people because of the sentiments are being expressed of like the people in Boston. That stuff doesn't have a place. That's what Antifa believes, and that's where Antifa's ideas come from.
Frank, is that in line with your thinking on this?
Yeah, I mean, but I remember when I was coming up in the movement, Antifa was just starting, and there's other groups like Anti-Racist Action, and they kind of had like a membership. But, you know, he is correct that they don't have like a set rules and membership. You don't pay dues or anything like that. So he is correct. And
who funds them?
There is a lot of, what's that?
Who funds them?
Who funds them? I mean, they fund themselves, really. I mean, they're not very, what do they have? They don't have, I mean, they never have anything. They're not like banners. They don't have any, you know, no places they own or anything. It's just a group of people to get together. And sometimes, and a lot of times, it's caused trouble. They did with us, too, back in, this is, you know, 92, 93, when I would go and do marches. And obviously, I don't believe that stuff now, but I would walk and have a Klan rally. I would have the banner, and people would throw bottles at us and stuff. And I never ducked a bottle once and thought, whoa, I better rethink my beliefs here. It doesn't work that way. It makes me more stronger in what I was doing. So it kind of goes against sometimes what's happening.
Scott, you didn't want to call this a group. Is it fair to call it a movement?
It's a movement. It's actually overlapping movement.
You were involved with Antifa for almost 30 years. How were you first introduced to this concept?
By the rise of white supremacy and neo-Nazis in Dallas, Texas in 1985 through 86, where the Confederate Hammerskins grew out of there, the largest neo-Nazi organization in the U.S. history. And they came there, and we had to fight them. We had to get them out of the streets. And we had to get them out of the spaces, punk rock clubs, industrial music clubs, all the places they were taking over. And they were driving this ideology, so it started with that. And since then, I've worked with Anti-Racist Action, which is actually an anti-fascist group, off and on with this. I even took up arms against white militias after Katrina, who were killing black people, because I don't think that it's right for you to use hate speech and then murder people.
Frank, I want to get back
I
want to get back to Frank, because I know that the FBI and the police, they're very interested in hearing from you and how to stop this movement. What do you tell them?
How to stop the neo-Nazi movement? I mean,
what we're witnessing happening in this country right now, no matter what the movement, these groups that intend to deploy chaos in American cities.
Well, I mean, it all depends on what type of group you're going to go after. I mean,
Antifa, start with that.
And the police are, Antifa, I mean, they are interested sometimes because of the damage to property. They don't have, they don't have whole departments looking at these guys. It's just when they know that there's going to be something going on. It's not a huge thing, but they do because they know that they will cause property damage and trouble and violence. So there's not a big movement, but more for the neo-Nazi stuff, because the neo-Nazis and the stuff are getting guns. They more have guns and, portray stuff that more goes to people dying than just the riots.
So, Scott, we've got to leave it there, but violence, is this part of the solution for this movement?
In the short term, violence is met with violence, but that's not the world that anybody wants to live in, except for maybe white supremacists, but Antifa does not.
Okay. All right, thanks to both of you for coming on tonight.